Hello, guys. Welcome back to Student Pages Podcast. I'm joined by Raechelle Banno. How you doing, Raechelle?
I'm really well, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. We were just talking about how you're in Australia, and we're in Sydney at the moment, and you just
Yeah.
got done with a quarantine. Where did you come from?
I'd come from London. So I've been in London for the last 6 or 7 months. So yeah,
Oh, what were you doing in London?
I was planning to live there. And then I got there the day that they announced the lockdown. And it's been very, very quiet. And I decided to come home. I've got a couple of projects that I wanted to shoot of my own. And so I've come home for a little bit.
Oh, okay, interesting. So why did you decide to maybe consider moving to London?
Well, I'd been there a few times, but never really spent a lot of time there. My older sister Stephanie lived there for 2 years and fell in love with it. And yeah, it just seemed like a nice, fresh adventure. And I chose the worst time ever. So there we go.
And what have you been working on recently? What did you decide to come back for these projects that you're involved with?
Well, my twin sister Karina, who's also in the industry, she has written a feature film, and we're looking to shoot a proof of concept for it, a short film version of it. And I've also written over the last, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years. I've written a couple of shorts and just trying to shoot as much as possible. Really, I think the industry is in such a weird spot at the moment, but to know you might have a certain amount of time up your sleeve is really nice. A lot of the time I plan to shoot something, then I sort of have to jet off. So I thought I would take a designated time and just shoot as much as possible.
Have you been pretty much involved in every side of kind of entertainment, doing writing and directing and acting and dancing? Have you pretty much done everything?
Have not done everything. I would like to one day, but I'm fairly new to directing, and I've obviously witnessed quite a bit, and I've seen it done. I've seen it's such a. I think that every part of the industry is so fascinating, and I'm just really interested in making content. I think it's really fun. I think it's really valuable, and obviously having Karina in the industry means I have a born in partner. So I thought, why not take advantage? And so yeah, I think that I'd like to be able to sort of dip my toe in all the different areas, and slowly I'm trying to.
Is there anything you'd like to try that you haven't tried yet?
Well, I haven't. I've co-directed before, but I haven't directed, so that's why I'm here. So I'm going to be directing, which is really exciting, and looking into. My sister and I are going to be producing, and yeah, just sort of trying to get that ground up knowledge where I've sort of experienced when that's already been done and I'm on set, and either you see if it's been done well or it's been done not so well, and how you deal with it from then on. But being there from the get-go is something I'm really interested in expanding my knowledge on.
Can you tell us about the film that you're directing?
It's a short film that I wrote a couple of years ago, and it's sort of, I'd say, an absurd comedy, and yeah, it's very simple. I wanted to shoot something that was sort of one location, more accessible for me as first time directing, but it centers around a young woman who is a videographer and is hired to do what she thinks is a birthday party, but slowly the weirder the party is, she realizes that's not quite the occasion, and it sort of gets into this wacky world.
Okay, so well, that sounds really interesting. And
Oh,
obviously,
thank you.
oh, it does sounds great. And you've been working lots of things. You're known for working lots of things, but obviously you're most well known for Home and Away. Do you feel like you're trying to kind of escape that and move on, or is it still something you feel a connection to and you want to be known for that?
Oh, I'm very, very proud that I've come from Home and Away. I think that it being such a staple of Australian and English and around the world television, I it was my drama school. It was at a time in my life where I was not only learning to find my voice as an actor, but also as a person. And it was a really great place to ask all dumb questions. And they really took me under their wing. And I'm just so grateful for that. And anything that I've brought on to jobs afterwards, and that I hope to bring on to future jobs, is from there. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. And I think that it also gave me a really good understanding of that genre, and then has then given me the challenge to then try and step out of that genre. And so it's not, I wouldn't necessarily say it's an escapism. It's more, it's given me confidence to then try some new things.
Mm. And was it a bit of a, I can imagine working on a soap opera is a bit of a grind. Are you kind of working a lot? Is it like very challenging compared to other jobs?
Yeah, I can't really speak for other soaps, but Home and Away it's unlike anything I've ever done and will probably ever do again. And it is a grind in the best sort of way. I mean, as an actor, it's so rare that you can say you're employed for 46 weeks of the year. That just never ever happens. And that that can be quite grueling. You know, you're constantly inundated with material that you have to work on, and you don't have time when you're shooting. You have to, I just took the perspective that it's my training ground. I know now that if you hand me a script when I'm about to walk on a set and go, here are the changes, and I have one take to do it, I'll be fine because I've done it for 46 weeks, a year, for 3 years. And so it gives you that confidence. It's definitely grueling in so many different ways. You know, it's not just a show that's ongoing in Australia, but it's also something that's constantly publicized, which not a lot of our projects get publicity. So you get a exposure in that side of the industry, which is a lesson all in itself. And yeah, I think that it can be pretty exhausting, and not everyone is built for it. But I think the great thing about Home and Away is that there's such a well-oiled machine that even if you come and you're unprepared, and they get a lot of people that are very young coming in there, they know how to foster an environment that people can succeed.
Mm. I've heard you say before that one of the things you learned, because it's interesting to talk about it being a sort of a drama school. You said one of the things you learned was you sort of maybe struggle with perfectionism a little bit.
Mm.
Does it ever panic you to kind of, and you said you that's helped, you've worked on that a little bit, but does it ever panic you to watch past performances? You kind of critique yourself still?
Yeah, I try not to watch myself in general. This last project that I've done, the Ruby Landry series, was a bit tricky because I both had to / really wanted to watch it because my twin sister is in it and I wanted to see her work on screen, and all of our scenes I'm in. And so I had to just get over that. But I was swept away by everyone else's performances and all the crew's work that I sort of could just forget I was on screen, which was lovely. But it is really challenging to watch myself, but I think I also go into it with the perspective of it's kind of none of my business what it looks like at the end of the day.
Right.
You know, I prepare my work, I show up on set, and I have a great time making it, and that's what it's all about. And once I walk off and they've called cut, it's out of my hands. And I do like to support my castmates and watch them, but I think that it only promotes vanity and perfectionism for myself. I mean, some people are very good at separating themselves from the work, but it's not something that I've acquired yet. And I don't know, I'm not really looking to either.
No, that's exactly how I feel about my uni exams. Once you've walked out, there's nothing you can do. It's done
Yeah.
now, and then sometimes, and then most of the time, you end up doing completely differently than you'd expected. You know, you might think you've done well. Yeah, it's the same with acting.
Yeah, and I can imagine. So I've got a few friends in my life that are students in London, and I can imagine that you've had experiences where you've gone, oh, I've totally messed it, like I've blown it. And then you get a mark back and you're like, oh my God, I thought it was great. And it goes to show that we just have no idea. We don't know where we are. We're not a good judge of character, judge of our own talent, of our own efforts. And we're always our worst critic. And I think it is that thing my mom used to always say, even with school exams, like as long as you go in and you do the best you can do, it's all that matters. You can't be upset with yourself. And I think that, yeah, I'll do what I think is a terrible audition, and I'll have a meltdown, and then my team will be like, Raechelle, this is great. I'm like, what are you talking about? Everyone's wrong. There's just no way to predict it, you know?
Yeah. You mentioned the Landry series briefly when you talk about recent things you worked on. How was that different to things you worked on in the past?
Well, it was my first time leading a production, which was something that I'd never experienced before and was really looking for that challenge. And then this project came along, which was 4 films, which was just unheard of. So it was a real challenge endurance and the just position, particularly on an American set where it's really important, like who's at the top of the call sheet and who's sort of. I was on set all day, every day, so you're really a big part of the atmosphere, and rather than if you come in and out of the set, you just sort of absorb whatever the atmosphere is, and so you have a hand in how the atmosphere is. And that was a real exciting challenge for me. Obviously, being able to work with my sister was something so wonderful and rare, and so I really leapt onto that challenge. But yeah, it really provided so many different things. It was my first time working on a production that was based on a novel, already existing property. So I got to research and not have to build this inner world myself. I got to sort of combine my thoughts with already existing text, which was a real good challenge on my perfectionism and my preparation. And yeah, I mean, I'd never been to Canada, so I also got to do that. It really kind of ticked all the boxes.
When you said about American sets are different because about people at the top of the call sheet, can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, I mean, in Australia, I can't speak for the UK industry. Unfortunately, I haven't worked there yet, but one day. But in Australia, particularly on Home and Away, you have these people that are the veterans of the show that have been there for so long, and they really do set the tone for how the show goes. But once you're on set, everyone is very much a part of an ensemble, and the hierarchy that can come with sets is it's not very Australian. I think it's kind of like, yeah, all right, like don't get too big. Whereas in America, the industry seems to cater towards like who the lead is and who is the top of the call sheet, and that sort of dictates the hierarchy and the tone on set. And I've been quite lucky that I've been on productions where it really did feel like an ensemble, and this was my chance to just sort of have a say in whether that was. And it's not something that everyone sits down at the beginning and decides if we're going to be cranky with everyone or not. It's more just, I don't know, I think treating everyone equally, and no one's really better than anyone else. And I just think that the industry in general definitely caters towards like celebrity and all of that. But I didn't experience that on this set, which was really lovely. And we really did just feel like a big family at the end of it. It was a lot of tears.
And working with your twin must be amazing. Is it always amazing?
Yeah, I think that it's just something that we're very, very lucky to be able to do. We've had each other in our lives for our whole lives, and we don't have anyone in our family that was in this industry before. So we sort of had to discover it together, which can be a really isolating industry when you're doing it by yourself. I mean, most creative things are, because no one's really begging you to do it. You've just got to go out and do it. Right. And yeah, I mean, we have just a unspoken through line with one another. We can really communicate quite well with each other very quickly. We're blunt with one another, and I think some people think it's us being rude to one another, but really, like, we don't need to beat around the bush with each other. And that really came in handy, especially on a set like this where we're working so quickly, and the dynamic between Giselle and Ruby was really specific. And so we'd obviously done our prep separately, but once we were on set, we were able to get into a lovely rhythm with one another, which just makes the work flow, but it also makes it really enjoyable.
And you've been acting with her. You've both been acting your whole life, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, since I was I'd say about 8 or 9, we've been acting on and off. Yeah.
And if you could go back, what advice would you give to your younger self or selves?
I think, I mean, there's a few haircuts I probably would avoid, because it doesn't work well for getting acting jobs when you're experimenting with your hair. So I'd probably warn against them, but that's also it's all part of the process. So I probably need to do that. But I think I learned while I was on Home and Away really how to be present and comfortable in myself, which again, I don't know if that's something that Home and Away taught me, or because it was just a time of my life when I think you're sort of figuring yourself out a little bit. But I think when I was, particularly when I was very young, I was quite shy, and I remember like seizing up in some auditions. And I think I later learned to use the anxiety that can come with auditions or being on set to fuel the performance. Whereas when I was little, I think I used to let it get in my way. And I think Karina's always been very good at letting go, but I sort of had to figure it out when I was little. So I think I'd sort of give myself a shake on the shoulders and just be like, just go be silly. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're not saving lives, you know?
What other ways are you two different?
I mean, I just think Karina's really cool. She's very cool. And not in an obnoxious way at all. But she is very herself. She's very confident in herself in a way that she knows what she wants, and she has a really clear idea of story and of character. And she has directed, and she's done film school and all that. So she just has, I have such a respect for her knowledge and for her drive. And she's someone who is really, really present on a set and wants to be a part of the team, and she just goes straight to the crew members, and she's really cool like that. She can just fit in with the gang. Like I think it takes me a little bit I want to know everyone, but I get a bit nervous with conversation, but she's just like right in there. And which is probably a good thing. We sort of balance each other out like that, but unfortunately we're not around each other all the time. But yeah, I think we're very, very similar, but also very different. It's very hard to explain. I think we complement each other nicely with our opposites, but also with our similarities.
And I wanted to ask as well, because you did an animated show recently. And that's so when I was younger, I did an animated show, and that's such an interesting experience.
What was your show?
It was called Waybaloo. It was back when I did little.
Okay.
It's like a little I was like 10, and I was this little monkey character basically. So much fun, right? Working on a little animated thing.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, had they animated it when you got the job, or did you do it blind?
Well, sometimes. So I didn't have to like dub it or anything. You said the lines, and then they animated it to the words.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you'd have to do like pickups and stuff, and
Yes.
then you would have to dub it. How was it on your?
It was similar to what you've done. However, it was my first voiceover job ever. The only time I'd ever been in an audio studio was for ADR for production, and you're just doing it to your own mouth. But going in, I didn't know what to expect from it, and it was obviously nothing had been recorded. I had a picture of the animation of what my character was going to look like, and she looked like a little badass. I was so excited. And then I did the show I recorded it for about, let's say 9 months. And I would say the first 4.5, I was certain I was going to be fired. I was just, because obviously you're by yourself, you're not with other actors. And I just had no idea if I was doing a good job. And I was like, I can't see it. I feel like I just assumed I was doing it wrong. And I was like, they're going to find me. They haven't told me yet, but I'm sure it's going to happen. And it took me a really long time to find my feet. But the whole time they were so wonderful to me and really encouraging. And I learned so much. And it's something that I really enjoy. And I'm so proud of the show. It's really fun and funny. Whenever I got to watch back when I was having to pick up or something, I would laugh out loud at the show. It's this really sweet little thing, and it's an original Australian content, and it's so nice to be a part of something that is uniquely Australian. And they did release it overseas, but for it to be greenlit in Australia, and they've got all these Aussies in it, I just was so proud to be a part of something like that.
Amazing. I know. I just got one last question. Just where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
In 10 years, my goodness.
Is that, should we do 5 years, or is that easier?
I mean, you could say 6 months and I'd freak out too. So it's fine. Let's, I would say in 10 years, I would like to be directing some of my own work, and I would love to have a production company with Karina going strong and us producing content. And yeah, I think I'd trying to think in terms of acting. I mean, there's so many things that you could say. I would just love to have like a really healthy little CV under my belt, and I just would like to be able to travel and work and just be happy. Really, I don't really have anything. I know that's probably a boring answer, but I don't have anything too complicated. It's more I'd just like to be happy and creating, and
Well, that's a
which
lovely
is kind of
answer.
where I am now, I suppose. So I guess not much is going to change.
Well, but it means you must be in the right place. So that's a wonderful answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much, Raechelle, for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for taking time out of your day to speak to me. I would really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Anytime. All the best with your exams if you got any more coming up. And
I actually just finished, but thank you.
oh, congrats. Okay, well, go take a load off. Go for a walk in the sun.
Oh, and you. Thank you so much, Raechelle, and thanks everyone for listening to the Student Pages podcast. Bye, guys.